Welcome to a new edition of To The Point. This evening we'll be delving into one of the pillars of Egyptian economy, which is the industrial sector. With a distinguished gentleman, we'll be delving into how far have we come in that sector. We have very ambitious goals in our Egypt Vision 2030. One of the biggest goals is pertaining to a strong economy that is self-sufficient, and self-sufficiency can only come if you have a strong industrial sector that backs your economy. With us this evening is Engineer Samir Riyad, member of the Egyptian Federation of Industries. A pleasure to have you with us.
Nice to meet you.
Before we go into some facts and figures, generally speaking, how do you see the development of our industrial sector? We have a very, very diversified economy. Over the past few months and long months, if we put it that way, the different ranking institutions have elevated our ranking. In the face of COVID-19, in a recent report published by the World Bank, they were giving some positive reviews about our performance as an economy in face of COVID-19, which really left a lot of economies in quite a dire situation. The president, when he came to office, he had laid out a very ambitious industrial aspiration. How are we doing as far as that is concerned?
I believe we are doing quite well. And actually, we have to realize that Egypt is between three continents, and the position of Egypt is very favorable, especially in terms of transportation. And we are near Europe, and we are in Africa, in north of Africa. We are very close to Asia, and this position makes us, very favorable in terms of exportation, in terms of exchanging knowledges. And on the other hand, definitely our leader is very, he gave us very good examples of how important the time, because actually when people are just talking about the length of time, he just tried to minimize it. That means he is passing a sort of an information to everybody that time is crucial.
Yes.
That is why time is money, why we say it, And definitely there is a lot of positive things in the terms of the number of population, the youngster which we have, the improvement of the infrastructure in this country, definitely the youngster, and the education, and the government and our leaders are very concerned about education and passing information and right information, and getting the big companies in the world to invite them here to give us their technology. All of these things, is making us, favorable to improve. And we are improving definitely, but we need more improvement, and we need the cooperation of every individuals to enable us to go, the ways that our president want.
Over the past few years, we developed 17 industrial parks. We have a number of industrial cities in various sectors, industrial zones, the Suez Canal, the extension, and the logistics center, which is supposed to be a logistics and industrial hub, so to speak, in the region. We've had new legislations to support the sector. But generally speaking, if I were to ask you to pinpoint where is our edge, because you can never be competitive in all sectors. It's a global economy. Competition is very, very strong. Right now you have to work with resources, not just natural resources, but also human resources.
Right.
And the qualified people we have today are different from the qualified people that will be in my children's generation, for example. But generally speaking, right now, where is our competitive edge in Egypt today? Not 10 years from now, but today. If you were to give advice, let us concentrate on those sectors. This is where we can penetrate international markets competitively.
We are expanding a lot in the high education. And I believe we make a mistake in this point because industry needs different manpower. And we have to qualify people for, the strategic edges which we are hoping for.
Okay.
That is why we definitely need, but the society has to accept as well a worker, to accept a supervisor, to accept, medium education, the
the blue collars.
Yes, and this is again, we have to, I believe, you have got a very important role as what do you call it? إعلام بيقولوها إيه؟
Media.
Media. The media has got a role to play here. We have to accept this kind of people in the society and highlight their importance because, and we need to invite too many people to work in the industry. We are 100 million people. That it means if we are considering a family of 5 people, that we have got 20 million families. If we take one person to work in the industry, then we will have 20 million person in the industry. We have got 3 million in the
blue collars?
No, we have
white
got
collars.
No, we have got 3 million in العربيات الصغيرة اسمها the tuk-tuk. We have got 3 million people working in the tuk-tuk. That it means these youngsters, if we are going to send them or to apply them in certain industry, just imagine in one industry if we can get 3 million workers, this we need workers. I personally feel that there is a shortage of workers in our society, and we need to, to develop workers and to
Is
produce
it because
workers.
of a cultural issue, or is it because that you don't have, because the drivers you were just talking about those small vehicle drivers,
Yes.
It's like a motorcycle or whatever
Yes.
drivers, they're people that do not have higher education. Most of them, not most of them, I'm almost confident that over 99% do not hold a university degree. Yet it is easier just to work drive people around and get paid than to actually go and work in a factory.
Right.
Easier not in terms of the workload, but in terms of the skills.
Yes.
Because you don't need real skills to drive this car. You just need to know how to drive. But you need to be a qualified person with skills to work in a factory.
Right.
Is this it's the vocational training?
The problem is discipline. That it means if a guy now is working on a tuk-tuk, he's free. He doesn't need to go at 8 o'clock or he is not complying with time. But he is free to do whatever he wants. And he can smoke and he can drink and he can stop and all of these free things which he thinks that is right. But future-wise, there is no future. That it means if he is going to be a skilled worker, that he's going to have a future. And definitely he can build up himself, and when he is 30 and 40 and 50 years old, then he is qualified worker with a good knowledge and good, and that's what is the industry need and what is the country need. And that's why we have to definitely do our best to enable us to get this kind of workers, on a long term, not on a short term, and not jumping from one profession to the other profession. This kind of things is not good at all. That it means I can say I am a mechanic, I don't know what, whatever. This it should be proud with specialization at the end of the day.
Yes.
And this is needed. That it means we have to say, okay, we need so and so much from this sector, from this profession, from this. That's what we need. For example, if I get I make a factory and I need certain skills, where from should I get it? Industrial area is very good, but the skilled worker, where shall we get them from?
Yes.
This is what we need. We have to concentrate on that. We have to highlight the importance of this, to enable us
Vocational training.
to get these qualified workers and qualified professions in our industry. And this is our future. It's very, very important, which I am highlighting it because this is definitely, we cannot proceed like this. We have to get, generation to generation, they have to pass them their knowledge and their skills,
Yes.
and how, by getting, these schools inside the industrial factories, not outside. Then the workers, they will be teachers. The engineer is a teacher, the mechanic is a teacher, everybody is a teacher, to pass them and to give them their knowledge and their experience to the generation and so on. That's why we need this kind of qualified people.
We have with us on the phone Dr. Ibrahim Hilal, Professor of Engineering at Ain Shams University. Dr. Ibrahim, can you hear us?
Yes, sure.
Yes. Sir, how do you see the development of the industrial sector within the past few years? How do you see us moving?
Actually, we can see so many industries now is being attracted to Egypt. Yes, there are some difficulties, in front of the investors and, the industry people. But as you can see at the moment, so many products we used to import from outside now
Yes.
is being adapted now and being manufactured in our country here. There are lots of, industrial cities now are being created here and there in Rubiki and in Dumyata. And most of in Sadat city, most of the cities now are, creating an industrial park or, new industrial city in the nearby main cities. And so many factories now are being established, like, in the furniture, for example, in Dumyata,
Yes.
the textile now in so many locations, like in Rubiki and in other locations. So I can see now there are a lot of, interest and support from the government to the industry by creating these kind of new cities, countrywide.
Dr. Ibrahim, we were talking about the gentleman in the studio I have with me, Engineer Samir Riyad, and he said one of our problems is vocational training. We don't have, like you were just saying, we have a new furniture city in New Damietta. We have the Robeki area. We have lots of industrial cities, but the quality lies in the hands of the labor. How do you see us overcoming this issue and increasing the labor force again?
Yeah. He's, definitely right. The vocational education and training is an issue that needs a lot of, of support and, a good eye from everyone. I used to be the chairman of the technical and vocational education in the Ministry of Education for a while, and I have been touched, in a very close treatment with this kind of vocational schools and technical schools. We have about 2 million students in these schools. Unfortunately, with an education level not to the good standard that we can count on, and these people have to start from scratch when they are graduated or hired in some industry, and a lot of effort has to be exercised to qualify this, labor and vocational. Yes, we have so many trials, like the dual education, the Barakol schools before, but a lot of effort has to be still exercised in this direction in order to have qualified technical and vocational education in our country.
What about university graduates? One of the backbones of industry is engineering. The advancement in engineering education really is going very, very fast worldwide. How are we doing in Egypt? Because there are lots
The-
of new disciplines. I mean, it's not longer the traditional engineering that my generation, for example, was studying. How are we doing on that aspect?
The situation in engineering is different. Actually, I'm a professor in Ain Shams University, and we are upgrading our, education curriculum, year after year, and it's being now up to the standard. Unfortunately, you can have some, shortcomings in lacking the training sessions for the students. And of course, with the corona, which is an exceptional situation now,
Yes.
but regularly we have a good engineering education in our country,
Yes.
and it's up to the level. All what it needs is to give, more attention to the training session and to the training task during the school or during the university study.
Okay.
But in terms of the, multidisciplinary education, in terms of the high technology, and in terms of, coping with the modern and, new theories and new advances in the engineering education, I can confirm that we are up to the level with this kind of education.
Dr. Ibrahim Hilal, thank you very much for joining us on To The Point. Dr. Engineer Samir, the Federation of Egyptian Industries, when it pools the talents, so to speak, which industries do you feel are our competitive edge?
I believe in textile industry is very important issue. The leather industry is important. The furniture industry is important. There is a lot of industries, which we can do a good job on it, and we have to expand on it. As well, as we have got problems in our cities. Look at Cairo now, it is 1/4 of the population of Egypt. That is not positive. That it means we have to go to the people. Look at the small towns and cities in Upper Egypt or in the Delta, A village 20, 30 years ago, they have been multiplied, and overpopulated, And, we are doing, the medium industries and small industries. We have to introduce it to those villages because these people, they don't have enough work. They are involved in the agriculture. Once upon a time, they were 20%, 30% of the population was involved in the industry. Today is definitely much less. That is why I believe we have to concentrate on that, and we have to find out, certain industries like ready-made garments, like leather, like those things. We have to, but how these people can get the raw material? How can they marketing their product? All of these things has to be studied. We have got institutes and universities. Their job is to do, to make schemes and to make projects and to enable us to involve these people.
Can you have a strong industry does not have the raw material?
Of course, it does. Today I believe the world is became now, is not, there is no restriction. Today, how look at the manpower. We have got a manpower, which is making an attractive thing, in the calculation of the costings. That is why if we have got these people and they are not very expensive, this will make. Even if we import the raw material, we can compete in certain industries. This is subject, of course, to be studied. Study the market, study the possibilities, and education on top of that. Is very important. If we get all this together, we can make, a good move.
Let's take an industry like the textile industry,
Yes.
because I know this is your specialty as well. Egypt always had a very reputable textile industry. If you go to the most prominent shops abroad,
Right.
You'd see a special section,
Right.
Egyptian cotton.
Of course.
Either ready-made,
Right.
or you even go into exclusive, top-notch boutiques, and you would find a section whereby men, gentlemen like yourself, can go and select this material or that material which is Egyptian, and they would fix a shirt for you,
Right.
which is exuberantly expensive.
Right.
But you know, it's a specifically tailored shirt just for you. Why is it that even though internationally it's a very expensive brand, I mean, Egyptian cotton is something very, very expensive, yet we don't see an exclusive international brand. I don't want to go into names because we're not publicizing international brands, but why can't we see the Pharaoh's polo shirts or King Tut's dress shirts or whatever? I'm just saying, why is it that we don't have a strong international brand, even though we have lots of new young designers that are internationally acclaimed now? So even the designers now, we have a new generation of very, very prominent international designers that participate in the most exclusive international shows.
This is the problem, which you just hit it, you know. If we talk about this shirt or this item originally is raw material is cotton.
Yes.
And the cotton has been, you know, manufactured into yarn. And the yarn has been knitted or dyed or, you know, or woven, you know, and then dyed, finished, printed, and making up. This is multi-industries. We don't have it. Very simple. We are converting the cotton into yarn. This is the process. For a fine count yarn, it needs a qualified equipment, and it needs know-how. And to make weaving material, again, to dye it and to finish it, again, and to print it, again, is a know-how. And then making up and accuracy and the brand name will be hanged in at the end of it. All of this is a process, 5, 6 processes. We have to perfect it to enable us to get that brand name and to get this item in it. That's why we have to look at it from this angle, and then we can proceed this way.
Aside from the textile, what other industry would you say we have? I mean, for example, I would say if we look at the agricultural sector.
Yes.
And here I'm talking agriculture because there is a big food shortage issue worldwide.
And our position in the world, that we are near Europe. We are between 3 continents.
You can be the food basket of the world.
This is very important that, you know, 2-3 hours you are in Europe, you know, by plane, you know. And this is very important issue. We have to consider it, the transportation and the time of transportation, especially in vegetables and fruits. This is a very important.
Is it a comprehensive issue? I mean, can you grow the crops and form industries for those crops to manufacture, whether it's in frozen foods or cans, whatever it is, and export? I mean, you see in Europe fruits and vegetables from even some of our neighboring countries, but very little from us.
We need consistency in our product, and that's why it is a know-how. It is an issue. It is a dedication. We have to adopt it to enable us to, you know, to have a, you know, a continuous business. You know, we cannot have a good, we cannot do a good job today, and we cannot tomorrow we can do different. This is the consistency of business, and that is very, very important.
What is the Federation of Egyptian Industries, or what can the Federation do to ensure that there is a standard? You know, like you're observing like those ISO things, because especially when it comes to food, most of the countries are very particular about the quality.
We have to measure things, measuring things. We have to have labs. We have to have, you know, quality controller. This is ABC. That it means an industry has to be with within the industry itself a very strong quality control and very dedicated workers. That's why everything has to be put in place to enable us at the end of the day to do a good job on it. That it means it is a strategy from A to Z, you know. There is something, you know, for example, we talk sometimes about good food and bad food and good item and bad. There is nothing called bad item will be in the market. This shouldn't be, and shouldn't be even talked about it. You know, we have to be sure of what we are, you know, marketing it, and we are putting it to the people. And the end user has to be sure that he is grabbing and getting the right item. And you know, this is something which it is a culture. We have to adopt it. We cannot get a boutiques now selling textiles, you know, and this boutique owner, he will not be able to know if the goods is purchasing is good or not good. That is why we need department stores and chains to enable them to have their qualified people to and quality control inside their shops, inside their headquarters, to enable them, if they can, you know, put the item into to the consumer or not. This is the kind of things, and this is the culture which we have to adopt.
Electronics, how do you see us moving on that front?
Of course, electronics is a very important industry, especially in the last few years and so on. And definitely there is a lot of countries like India, like you know, China, and like all of these countries, they are definitely doing a good job, and definitely we are capable of as well of doing a good job in it, providing again to put the strategy right.
Our exports increased,
Yes.
and there is projection for the first quarter of 2021 that it even increased by 6%.
Right.
Our imports fell. We used to import for over 72 billion. Now we're in the 63 billion range. Is this reflective of lower consumption, more production, and in your opinion, how can we further decrease imports? I mean, because you need to import stuff, but in Europe, from someone in the industrial sector, which commodities, which industries do you think that we should not be importing?
Actually, I have got here my views about import. What we import, we are import technology. We import an item which we should, you know exactly that this item has been produced with certain prices, with certain qualification and so on. And we need to imitate it. We need to make a good job on it, and we need to compete to those items to enable us to stop importing them. But just once, you know, said we cannot import this, I don't think we will be able to do so. And there is a lot of things which we are importing, which we can do without it, and there is a lot of things as well we have to import it. That's why the market is reflecting this and deciding this, not me or anybody else, you know. That it means what it is offered and what it is purchased, this will decide what we should import and what we shouldn't import.
Exports. Recent strategies have been to support the export sector. I believe that arrears in millions have been paid to support the export sector. How do you see the government working with exporters? And in your opinion, what do we need to do more to, aside from quality assurance, because as we were saying, definitely quality is important, but what else is needed to support that sector?
We need to recognize the markets which we have to penetrate, and to see the competitor in this market, to enable us to decide what kind of incentive we should give to the Egyptian industry to enable him to compete in such markets, like the African market, for example. I believe the African market is a crucial and very important, but it has been penetrated by China and India and those kind of things. And definitely we have to study what kind of because today maybe they are not that attractive, but tomorrow is going to be attractive because the standard of living is going up, and we cannot ignore this amount of people which they are in Africa, and definitely we are near them, and we should start from now, see about it, that we can go to this market and put our, and to increase our industries and our exportation to those markets. And if there is incentives has to be paid more than, say, the European market, we have to do it for the time being to enable us to compete, because people sometimes, they are not realizing, the quality of our item till they are trying it and so on. That's why we have the introduction we needed to do a good job on that.
We have with us on the phone Dr. Abdelmegid Salama, energy specialist. Dr. Abdelmegid, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, lady.
Good evening, Dr. Abdelmegid.
Good evening, lady.
Sir, one of the key pillars to any industrial sector is energy. How far do you see us moving on that front, taking into account, especially when it comes to green or renewable energy? Because one of the main goals in our 2030 vision is pertaining to energy. I believe the fifth objective specifically stipulates a green ecosystem.
Right. Well. Let's just try to analyze what we are speaking about. We are speaking about exporting green energy to some other surrounding countries, and we are not a direct producer of green energy, because some countries like China is producing the majority of the solar energy units. When I say the majority, I'm speaking of the world production. So they are able to control the cost of their production and become very competitive. But when it comes to this field in general, then we have to evaluate not only the product, not only the material needed for that type of energy,
yes,
but it is the services. And this is the key issue we have to speak about and we have to concentrate. We have the elements needed to do the services. We have some know-how, we have some labor, and the cost of the know-how and labor is quite competitive. So adding this item as a service to the material, then we become a competitive one. I hear your guest was speaking about the African market, and I am very much encouraging the wording in this direction. Simply, if we go to some other countries like the MENA region, the Middle East and North Africa,
yes,
these markets are already in direct contact with all the world producers and world service sources. But when you start speaking about Africa, or what we call the Virgin Africa countries, where they have a lot of resources of different things like raw materials and these things, and in the same time they do not have any services. Some countries, as the gentleman was mentioning, some countries have been penetrated by China, India, and Turkey. Besides the original people who were working there, the French and English, although the French are more controlling to the Franco-Afro-French side. But between the French atmosphere, between the Chinese, Indian, and partially the Turkish, there are some competition. On the other side, we have an advantage. Number one, we are more welcomed than any of these countries, definitely. Number two, our services can be more accepted. And I can state an experience happen in front of me during a visit or discussion with one of these countries. There were some Egyptian textiles, some Egyptian cottons presented to that market. The Egyptian cotton textile is super all over the world. However, the Chinese textile, which is very low quality compared to us, but the price is very low. On the other side, our quality is good, but the presentation given by the French suppliers, the American suppliers, they are better in packaging, in the way they are selling, so they are more attractive. Although they are the same quality but higher price, but they are adding some more services. So I can come to the conclusion that we have to concentrate, number one, on the African Persian countries, number two, on the services which we optimize, and we can do it, and it is needed.
Thank you very much for your fruitful input, Dr. Abdelmegid Salama. Before we wrap up, what do we need from foreign investors? If you were to direct a message to foreign investors now that are working, that are listening to us, what advantage in industry in Egypt? What kind of potential do we have in that sector in Egypt, whereby you would say to the foreign investor, "Come right now. This is
manpower." Manpower. This is the most important thing. Because as I said, we are dealing in the industry with three things: manpower, machines, and raw materials. These two can be obtained and can be get. But the manpower, qualified people, this is the most important things that will attract even the Egyptian business people. And of course, the financing sector is very, very important, because if we talk about the billions of dollars of Egyptian pounds, which they are in the banks, and we are investing only half of them, that it means there is a chance of getting, a lot of industries adopted by the Egyptian businessmen, which we have to create as well as the Egyptian businessmen besides the Egyptian workers.
Engineer Samir, thank you very much for joining us this evening. I'd like to thank you, the viewers. We wish you a very pleasant evening, and we'll see you same time next week. Until then, good night.